and I'll be able to see you. So I'm going to get started. I'm hoping that the third person is going to be able to work out their how to use the Q&A function and let me know who they are. So welcome to A-Level Drama. You'll be doing Eduqas Drama A-Level. Historically here we have really strong results. The last year we did this, we had some of the top results in the country for the written exam. And we had 4 students who missed less than 7 marks on the whole paper, which is fantastic. So you get taught by both teachers, so we don't have a class each. We do in fact split the class between us, so you'll have a number of lessons with Mrs. Rashley and a number of lessons with me. So Mrs. Rashley is our acting and performance specialist. She's also got amazing experience acting lots of different styles, and also went to a very prestigious theatre school. So if that's the path you want to go on to next, she is our guru about the auditions process and applying. And I am the devising and set text expert. So I am a big fan of contemporary devised theatre, and also I really enjoy, and my specialism is teaching the set text and the directorial side and the design side. So what's new for September? Hopefully we will be having a bit of a virtual school play in the first term at school. So we're just waiting for confirmation that this can go ahead, and we might not get that until September when we know what's happening, but hopefully it's going to have Halloween/horror theme. We're going to have a competition for the best spooky stories. They're then going to be dramatised and acted out by the A-level students as actors. We're going to socially distant film them on iPads and phones, and then hopefully year 12 media students are going to edit them together so that we can have a virtual performance night, hopefully on Halloween, where people will be able to watch our spooky performances. And hopefully that'll be a lot of fun for everyone. The study room is, as I speak to you, being sorted out for next year. So the drama students will have their own private study room. It is just for drama students. It's a space where you can have group meetings outside of lessons, where you can work on your studies. You can use that room before school, after school. If social distancing's in place, it changes things a bit. At the moment, you could probably have 2 in there socially distant. If we drop down to a metre, possibly up to 4. If we go back to life as normal, then you'll be able to cram as many as you can in there. But it's also a space where you can leave bags of costume, folders, scripts, so that you don't have to carry them around all day or jam pack your locker with them. And another big change is we've given the studio a bit of love this year. We've tidied it out, and we're turning the storeroom into a design workshop space. So if you are going to do design work for your exam next year, you'll have a space where you can draw, paint, store your belongings, and keep working on that while we're in lessons. So if I've got year 8 and you have a free lesson, you might come down knowing you can have access to that room and build your model set or paint something you needed or stick sequins on a costume. So again, that's a nice new space for you. So moving on to today. We're going to be looking at the very opening of Trojan Women. Now I'm starting this lesson assuming that you have been completing the work that I have set, because Mrs. Challoner asked for 3 weeks worth of work, each week about 2 to 3 hours of work, and the end date for that was today. So I'm assuming that you've done some of that work, but I will recap some points before I move on in case you haven't had that work or you've just not been in the position to do that. So today we're going to look at the very, very first opening, the scene between Poseidon and Athena. So we're going to, hopefully by the end of this session, understand how religion was viewed back in ancient Greece and how different it is to today. And we're going to begin to consider some different interpretations of the gods. Now, this lesson would normally be a practical lesson that I would do in the first week back. And normally our induction lessons would be in the theatre, and you've had the induction lesson number 1 where we were the chorus, and this lesson kind of builds on that and adds some set design. But as we can't, we're going to do that together online and kind of tick another box so that when we are back in September, we can move into that practical work as quickly as we can. So just to recap, we know that Trojan Women was written by Euripides, and we know he lived the later part of his life in a time of war, and it was a really bad war between Athens and Sparta. Now, you may have heard of this from films like The 300 and, you know, Gerard Butler in a leather miniskirt. This is Sparta. It's an absolutely mythical war. It was brutal. The Spartans had a brutal training regime for their children. They saw themselves as a warrior race. So this is warfare without a Geneva Convention. There's no such thing as the laws of war or having a moral outcome. This was war to destroy and conquer. And this war that Euripides lived through leads actually to the fall of Athens. So Athens goes from being the absolute most powerful city in the ancient world to losing a lot of that power. Now, Euripides also had a childhood filled with war, because as a young child he was evacuated because the Persian army attacked Athens. So they sent all the women and children of Athens to an island out in the bay, and the men stayed behind to protect and fight the Persians in the city. So that tells us that this man is writing a play with the experience and the viewpoint of what it's like to be an evacuee, to be homeless, to be terrified. And, you know, although it was an evacuation and he wasn't a refugee, there's similarities there with these people that he's writing about, these Trojan women who are homeless and terrified and the victims of war. So one thing to bear in mind as we work through this is that Athens and ancient Greece has long been held up as the absolute pinnacle of everything fantastic about Europeans. Even today, we value their sculpture, we perform their plays. We still build houses, particularly if we're very rich, in the style of ancient Greece with columns and other design features. But we also have to bear in mind that that idealized vision of Athens isn't really the truth of what it was truly like to live in ancient Greece. Because although there was a democracy, it didn't mean that everybody was equal, and it didn't mean that everybody could vote. You could only vote if you were male, and if you were born in Athens, and that both your parents had been born in Athens. And the majority of the population at this time are slaves, and many of these slaves are actually prisoners of war. So they are captured soldiers, and they're also captured innocent people, civilians, and many of these would have had high status in their own land. So one day you are a princess and the next day you are a slave. One day you might be the leader of an army unit, and the next day you are a slave. And if we look at what happens to the Trojan women, they are indeed the queens and princesses who face slavery. They say the rest of their life is going to be humiliating servitude because they've become a status symbol. It's not bad enough that they're going to be scrubbing somebody's togas for the rest of their life or cleaning under their toenails. If you manage to be such a powerful person that you get rewarded with a queen or a princess, you're going to praise that slave. So you're going to be pointing out to your visitor that the old woman scrubbing the doorstep and opening the steps for visitors used to be the Queen of Troy. Or, you know, you'll use them to walk down the street with a fan for you so that everyone can see you now have a slave princess keeping you cool. So not only is this horrible, difficult work, completely isolating, completely losing your sense of identity, no family anymore, your name is changed, your language could be changed, but also you're paraded for doing it. And what we need to remember is all of these wonderful things we see in Athens, the Parthenon, the Agora, the pottery, almost all of that only exists because of slavery, because they had enslaved people doing all the menial tasks and they were able to produce so much of it. So, Euripides is writing in what's known as the Golden Age. People see themselves as enlightened, and it means that he can criticise public figures and decisions without risk. Lots of scholars now believe that the Trojan Women was written as criticism to something that Athens had done the year before. So, off the coast of Athens is an island called Melos, and they were an ally with Athens. When Athens goes to war with Sparta, they told Melos they needed to send them all of their young men and soldiers to become part of the Athenian army. Melos refused. They said, we won't go against you, we're going to stay entirely neutral, we're mainly a farming community, we will let you board your ships here to break up your journey to Sparta, but we're staying neutral. As payback, Athens attacked Melos. They put the entire male population to death, from days-old babies to the oldest men on the island. Not a single male was left standing, which means in one night, bloodlines were stopped, ended. Nobody could ever kind of go on and have another son. And every single woman and child on the island was cleared off Melos and sold into slavery. Every single one of the population. Overnight, every family ceased to exist. Now that happened 1 year before Trojan Women was produced in 1415, and it's got to be significant. You know, Euripides would have been working on this play for months before they perform it, and so therefore it must have been forefront of his mind. And these were competitions, and people did write to try and win competitions. So they would often write about the hot topics of the day, what was being discussed in the forums and in the marketplaces and temples. So we assume that this action would have been something important for him to talk about. And you know, he used his talents here and his notoriety to try and show the Athenians what war means. Most of the plays he wrote in the last third of his life focus on the plight of women and children. Now, most Greek myths focus on the heroes, Jason and the Argonauts, the Golden Fleece, the big powerful men who best the gods. But Euripides writes about women and children, the conquered rather than the jubilant conquerors. And maybe that's because of what he lived through as a child. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just because all day, every day, he sees evidence of the subjugation of other people in the slaves that are the backbone of Athens. So even though this play is thousands of years old, it's still being performed today. We were going to perform it for our Unit 2 exam this year at this centre. And unfortunately, that's because these things still occur. There's still wars happening right now in the world. We have a huge refugee crisis the globe over. We still have slavery. And we don't just mean we have slavery in faraway countries, we still have slaves in modern day Britain. Even though it's illegal, we know that this is a practice. Rights of women, still an issue. It's not equal across the world. There are countries and cultures that don't allow women equal rights with men. We still see genocide occurring, and genocide is the act of killing an entire race or group of people. And we have war crimes. So in some ways, you'd hope that this play would be far-fetched now, because you would hope that the world would have moved on, that we'd have become better people. But unfortunately, there's still a message to hear when we see this play. There's still thoughts to be provoked. There's still characters to empathise with, even though we're in 2020, because humans are still doing the same things to each other. Now, all of that, I hope, has just helped to go over the knowledge that you already have, because you've either looked at this play studying Unit 2 with me, or you've done a lot of that prep work that I've sent you in previous weeks. So now we're going to consider what the problem with the gods are. And those gods are Poseidon, and Athena. So you should have on the website where you clicked on the link to join this lesson, there was 2 documents there, and the first document is an extract of the script that we're going to be looking at today. I am going to put it on the screen, so don't worry if you didn't open that document. But if you want to go back to it later, or if you want to start work straight after this lesson and you haven't yet got a copy of the script, it's there ready for you to work with. So before we move on to talk to the gods, I'm just going to give a 30-second wait for you to respond. Do you have any questions about anything I've discussed so far, or am I okay to move on? So I'm going to give you like 20-30 seconds, and so if you just want to put like yes in the box, or okay, or a question if you have one for me, and then I'll answer it. So, the gods then. There's a bit of a problem with the gods, isn't there? They seem quite weird to us. The idea of 2 gods just strolling around on Earth, because particularly in what is the pervading religion in this society, we see gods as removed from the human Earth. God lives in heaven with Jesus, and people on Earth are human acting his will. But way back then, Greece, ancient Greek, they believed the gods would be amongst you, that they lived on Mount Olympus, but that they would also come down and mess around with humans, often causing great tragedy and making things very difficult. And in fact, the play starts with a conversation between 2 gods. The first god is Poseidon, who is god of the sea, and the second god is Athena, who is the daughter of Zeus, king of the gods, and is the goddess of wisdom and war. Now, with this becomes some challenges. The rest of the play is quite easy to make relevant for a modern society. There's slavery, but we don't really have anything with this. Now, lots of modern directors do in fact cut the scene with the gods completely from the start of the play, and they start with Hecuba's monologue, really dramatic, emotional scene. But we are studying this for an exam, and we know that we could be asked to talk about how we would direct or act or design for this play from the very first word of the play to the end. So even though we might not want to perform this scene if we were doing it at the curve, we do need to know about how we would perform this, ready for when we have to tell an examiner about it. So the gods are obviously the religious figures for this time. So ancient Greek religion is really different. Okay, first thing was because they believed that gods would make their lives better while they were living. It's why the cult of Christianity in the Roman era was seen as so weird and new, is that Christians believe they will have a nice afterlife, and that you might be a slave, but if you're a good Christian and you follow the Christian rituals and you worship the Christian gods, your suffering will be over after this life and you will go to an amazing afterlife and go to heaven. Whereas the Greeks believed that your life could change while you were living it. If you prayed to the right God, they might let you win loads of money or win a battle in war and change your life. They believed that the gods would take care of them when they died, but primarily that's the biggest difference between religion then and now. Also, Christianity is monotheistic, there's one God, whereas the ancient Greeks believed there was lots of different gods and goddesses, and each one of those had a different job and controlled a different part of humans' lives and environments. So there's gods of war, gods of fertility, gods of knowledge, gods of the sea, gods of crops, gods of hunting. And it was really important to please these gods. If you didn't please the right god, maybe your crops would fail. Your children will get sick. Your wife will cheat on you because you haven't made the gods happy enough to grant you your wishes. So most Greeks would have a little temple in their house with models of the god, and they would leave them sweet treats and presents and pray to them. And there were also public shrines in all kinds of places where you could leave little presents for them. Another thing to bear in mind is that temples. Now, temples are important to us in Trojan women because it has been the army being disrespectful of a temple that's going to kick off all the trouble that's going to follow a Trojan women. So the Greeks built temples to show the gods how much they worshipped them. Unlike a church, they weren't a place of worship. It wasn't about going to commune with your God there or pray there. It was a house for the gods on earth. It was a place for you to leave fresh flowers, jewels, gold, food to make them happy, okay? Because happy gods help you, unhappy gods punish you. So there were statues of the gods and goddesses in the temples, which were cared for by the priests. The priests weren't really leading the worship. The priests were more keeping the temple clean, arranging the offerings, trying to keep the gods happy, almost like a little butler for the gods. And a lot of the religious ceremonies and festivals went on outside the temple. So the temples respected the gods, and they also showed how wealthy and powerful a city was. So they would often be the best buildings in the town, with the best decoration and the best carving. And you'd pray to gods to grant you anything, a good harvest, a good journey, to have attractive children, not ugly children, to sort that wart out on your leg, or all different kinds of things. Now, the reason we see Athena and Poseidon at the start of the play is because Athena's temple has been disrespected. Poseidon helped to build the Trojan world, and the Trojans have worshipped Poseidon, and the Trojans were very, very powerful. In fact, the Athenians would not have been able to conquer Troy unless another god stepped in to help, and she did, Athena. Athena was the one that planted the idea for the big wooden horse in the Athenians' mind, the Achaeans' mind, and they are the reason why they got beat. However, when the soldiers went into Troy, they went into Athena's temple. They stole her presents. And worse, a soldier called Ajax rapes Cassandra, who has been who was working as a priestess in her temple, in the temple. So they've defiled it, they've stolen from it, and Athena, like that, completely changes sides. She wants revenge, she's out for blood, you've disrespected her, she's taken you down. So I'm just going to let you read this slide, so I'm going to have a little break here and let you read it. It's basically letting you know that the gods are there at the start to perhaps suggest to us that life is fickle, that we pray to gods to be okay and we seem to be doing fine, but it's just one mistake, one action, and your life can come tumbling down. And maybe to a modern audience, this is about the fact that we seem to live in a nice, stable country and we're all fine and no warfare. But in 5 years' time, could we be living through something like Yemen are living now, or if climate change hits? So I think it's maybe a call to an awareness that life is fickle. It can change in an instant. And even if you are powerful today, tomorrow you might be weaker. So how do you want the world to be in case you end up losing your power? And this PowerPoint will be available at the end so that if you want to go back over it, you can do. So this is the start of the play. We see Athena enter. Now the stage directions tell us that Hecuba should be visible on stage, collapsed in a heap. We know that the other slaves and women and prisoners would be somewhere around the stage. So the gods are, if you like, coming. Now Poseidon is with the victims. He's still with his people. Couldn't save them from the war, but there's this idea that Poseidon is somehow still looking over the girls. And in comes Athena. She says, am I permitted to speak to one who is closely related to my father, a great divinity honoured among the gods, now that I've laid aside my former enmity? And Poseidon says, you are, after all, family ties, Lady Athena, works no small magic on the heart. So basically, she sucks up to him and he says, I'll have to forgive you because we're family. And she said, I'm grateful to you for your kindly attitude, and I propose for discussion, Lord, a subject of common interest to us both. And first Poseidon thinks that she's bringing a message. And she says, no, it's not because of that. It's because of Troy, where we are treading now, that I have come to you to ally your power with mine. She's come for a favour. And then she says, surely you have not cast out your former enmity to pity Troy now the fire has burnt it to ashes. And Athena's basically kind of moves the conversation on, but Poseidon won't. He says, no, I want to know, why are you here? Have you come to help the Achaeans or the Phrygians? And she says, I want to bring joy to the Trojans who were previously my enemies, and to give the enemies a bitter journey home. And even Poseidon thinks this is mad. The day before, she let them go to the biggest military battle ever and win, and then today she hates them and she wants to destroy them all. And she explains that it's because her temple has been insulted, and the soldier that did that hasn't been punished, which Poseidon likes to point out. That's because she gave them the power to do that. And so now she says she wants to do them harm. And he says, I'll help you with that any way you want, because he's angry at what they've done to Troy. And she wants to blight their journey home, and then she goes through a plan. And she also makes sure here, she mentions that Zeus, king of the gods, has given her his blessing, and he's lending her his thunderbolt so she can create a huge storm. And what she wants Poseidon to do is to make a massive whirlpool on the sea, because obviously only Poseidon can control the sea. And so she wants to create the worst storm they've ever seen. And she says to fill the hollow bay of Euboea with corpses, so that for the future the Achaeans may lay to revere my sanctuaries in respect to the gods. So she's going to destroy an army's worth of men, drown them all in a storm, to teach them a lesson about respect. And Poseidon says, it shall go. And they agree to do that. And his last line there is, the mortal who sacks cities and temples and tombs, the holy places of the dead, is a fool. Having given them to desolation, he meets destruction in time to come. For a warning there for the order. If we are not respectful of our gods, they will bring destruction down upon us. So quite a bleak story. Okay. So there are different ways that we could play that. Are they being a couple of politicians or business people coolly discussing how they'll punish the Greeks? And here you've got to think about who's more powerful. Athena is very respectful towards Poseidon, but she's also very persuasive. And is that because she's Zeus's daughter? You need to think about, would he have ever dared to take this action against the Aegeans, if not for the backing of Zeus and Athena? So I want now to look at some ways the gods have been portrayed in modern media. So the first clip we're going to watch is classic Hollywood. Okay. While you're watching this, what I'd like you to do is try to jot down 4 or 5 words that for you sum up the presentation of the gods here. So it might describe their physical appearance, the way they speak, how they're kind of presented, whether they're very human or very otherworldly, and we're going to come back to this. So this is the first clip from an old classic Hollywood movie, and we have Zeus, the man with the beard, king of the gods, and his wife Hera.
Hermes, my godly husband, did you for some reason order the profanation of my temple in Thessaly?
That was entirely the fault of Polias. Not content with winning the throne of Thessaly as I wished, he tried to avoid losing it as I've commanded. I know that you've been insulted, my dear. But be content. The boy Jason has escaped. He will avenge you.
How?
You must know by now I never arranged exact and precise details.
And because you were exact and precise, a young girl was killed and my temple was profaned. I want to help Jason.
No. You may help infant Philomela if you wish. The rest is man's work.
No. I want to help Jason.
As you wish. How many times did Aristo's daughter bride?
Did you for some reason order the profanation of...
So, first slide, you might have words like traditional. Obviously, the images there of the gods are very much based on ancient sculpture, the curly hair, the beards, the togas. So very traditional, stylized, based on classic art. Also, though, if we think about very upper class accents, seem to be able to kind of have mythical powers, making images appearing out of nowhere. So that's one way we can present the gods. Let's now look at it a different one. So this is the Disney-fied version of the gods. So again, I'd like you to try to write 4 to 5 words down about what you notice about how these gods are presented in comparison to the one before.
Hercules! Behave yourself.
Lucas, look how cute he is. Oh, he's strong, like his dad.
Whoa, excuse me, hot stuff coming through. Excuse me, up one side, Harry.
Why, Hermes, they're lovely.
Yeah, you know, I had Orpheus do the arrangement. Isn't that too nutty? Fabulous party. You know, I haven't seen this much love in a room since Narcissus discovered himself.
Here, keep those away from the baby.
Oh, he won't hurt himself. Let the kid have a little fun.
So that version then, what words might you have written down for that? Stereotypical gods. They were glowing, they seemed otherworldly, they weren't presented as being human, they were presented as being other with a different coloured skin. But also, you have this image of each one had a representation of their skill or interest. So Narcissus with the mirror, and Zeus with the big powerful muscles, and Hermes with the shoes with the wings on it. So your other option is to, instead of looking at them like a piece of classical art, is to focus on what they represent and actually go symbolic use of colour, costume, prop to make them not look human but to look otherworldly. Another option though is a contemporary one. So yes, this is Percy Jackson. We're going to look at the presentation of the god Hermes. In the first two, the gods were separate from the human world. They were on Mount Olympus and they don't walk amongst us. But you could see Poseidon and Athena as being able to travel through the two worlds and perhaps even participating in the human world. And this version looks at that idea in that the gods are no longer on Mount Olympus but move within us.
You are here about Hermes?
His son, actually. It's kind of important.
Yeah, I could tell the way you burst in here all mood-like.
You're...
Hermes, A little insulted you didn't recognize me.
My feelings might have even been hurt. I wasn't such a self-confident individual. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm killing these shorts. Like a sigh? Just bought it. From Maze, of course. Check it out. State-of-the-art sorting, processing, and packaging facility. If you're going to cross paths or Zeus forbids swords with him, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have a thing or two to help you out. Collector's item. Twist the cap off this, you release the winds from the four corners of the earth. Now you tell me that isn't cool. No, not in here. Now, you're also going to want one of these. I hold in my hand.
So for that version, we've got modern, powerful, but also this idea of duplicity, two sides, and the side the human see and this godly side. And the godly side is super confident, arrogant, stylish, designer, rich, powerful, privileged. And the human side is more humble. And again, that could be quite interesting as we move through. Now the final version, I just want you to look at this at another time. I'm not going to show you now. It's from the TV show American Gods, and it basically in modern America, the ancient gods that brought with them as people migrated to America from Ireland, from Africa, so gods like Thor from Scandinavia, the Irish gods, gods from like Slavic countries, they are starting to weaken because people are no longer worshipping them, and they go to war with the modern gods of American society. And the modern gods that modern people worship more than their old gods are media, internet, money, fashion. But there's some lovely interplay there between the gods. But theme the time, and because the video quality has got a lot worse, I'm going to focus on finishing it. So we need to think about how you would start this play then. Do you want Athena and Poseidon to be almost like two generals playing a game of chess? They talk matter-of-factly, not caring if an entire group of people are wiped out in an entire battalion, and they just talk about it very matter-of-factly. Yes, we've been disrespected, so now they must all die. Would you like Poseidon deeply suspicious of Athena's motives? Athena is trying to win him over. Would you have them as if they were exaggerated upper-class aristocrats, bored with everyday life and therefore delighting in playing with their pets, their toys, the humans, and not taking any of this seriously because it's such good fun? You have them almost like gang leaders, like 1930s, 40s gangster films, being tough, vindictive. You don't show me respect, things have got to change. When we return in September, you're going to be working on developing a concept for the entire play. You might have a very modern concept and be setting it in 2020. You might be keeping it in the traditional performance style. You might make it epic and go Brechtian. You might go full theatre of cruelty and want blood dripping from the ceilings and screaming, shouting of our tone. But whatever you do, decide the gods are going to have to be part of your concept. So what you're going to work on over the summer is how you would like to present the gods. And also your concept will change massively. What you decide at the start of year 12, by the finish of scheme of work, everybody's ideas have always developed and got added to. When we come back to revising year 13, quite our knowledge through the work we've done on performance with Mrs. Rashley and everything else makes you come up with an even better one. But what's important is we have a starting place. So, are the goals going to be outside of the action? So if you're setting it in 20T, are your gods still going to appear in togas? Or are you going to have a timeless, could be any era performance from Hecuba and the Trojan women? And do the gods appear as if they are in Egypt or something futuristic? Are you even going to have actors as the gods? Do you want the gods to be the same height and size as the actors on stage, or do you want the sense that they're all powerful giant beings? Would you want giant puppets? Would you use projection? Do the gods' faces appear in different objects around the stage, perhaps appearing on a backdrop or appearing in different things? Will the gods have this conversation and then totally disappear for the rest of the play? Or do you want to hint at the idea that the gods are actually omnipotent? They are going to appear. Will they appear because you might have a balcony on the backdrop that the gods are the only people that ever enter, and they walk up and down there and they watch what Menelaus are doing and they laugh at the arrogance of Agamemnon? Will you have them leave, but then later when Menelaus comes on with an assistant, the audience realise the assistant is actually Poseidon? Will Athena appear as one of Cassandra's women? Do you want the idea that the gods are able to move into the human world and walk alongside them without ever being noticed? Would you have them still walking on stage in their full godlike robes? It's just nobody else sees them. Do you want them to almost interact with Hecuba? Does Poseidon actually somehow help her to her feet when she's out of energy like a god would? It's just the audience, the only people that can see him. How do you think you could make this role of the gods most interesting in a performance? So over the summer, this is what you are going to be working on for me. First of all, can I ask that you hand in to me any of the work that you've been set so far? If you haven't finished it all, that's fine. Just let me see what you have got and keep me updated as you finish it. So I've said you could submit it in any format you like. So if you have done something that isn't electronic, just take photos and send them, but it'll help me plan my first few lessons back so I know what was challenging and I should go over in lesson or what I can actually skip over. You need to purchase a copy of the Trojan Women and Other Plays. It has to be the version that's on screen now, because other translations use different words in their translation, it won't match up. And your second task for me, once you've bought the script, is to outline your concept for Poseidon and Athena. So you're going to research both the gods, what they represent, how they're usually portrayed in art and in other medias. You're going to think about the characterization of both of them, what costume you'd have them in, where they'd be on stage, whether they're with the actors projected on a special rise and they just appear out of the floor or come down on some kind of magical cloud, whatever you want. How you might use lighting. Do you want to use lighting to make them look like they're glowing, or so they have huge shadows at the back of the stage to suggest their power? Would you have music or sound effects accompany them? And make sure you include a paragraph about what effects you want them to have on the audience. So this can be any format you like. So you might put together a PowerPoint presentation covering each one of these bullet points. You might make a mood board and then just type up a document to go with it. You might make a model set of models of your puppets and take photos of them. You can be as creative as you want with this, but just make sure you come back feeling confident that you could explain to somebody else what your idea is. And thirdly, because this play has been a popular one, we will need to be acting out as these people who are in circumstances we have never experienced. And to do that, we want to have some form of authenticity in the way we portray them. So you will do some research into where are there places in the world today where people are experiencing similar things to Hecuba and her daughters. Where are the big refugee camps? Where are women being bought and sold? I want you to create a mood board or a document or a presentation of images of real life situations where you could set Trojan women today. Try to find video clips and reports about the survivors and the people that work with them. Make notes about how they seem to respond to these situations, physicality, emotionally, mentally, facial expressions. You want a portfolio so that when we start to perform these women, we're not starting from a blank canvas. We've got some idea of what a shock and a trauma does to the human body. And if you remember our induction session, we spent quite a bit of work looking at that and we found it really difficult. So that research will be really important. Mrs. Rashley would like you to buy a copy of the National Theatre's A Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. Make sure it's the script. The ISBN is on the screen and as I say, you can get this after. Currently, this is £4 secondhand on Amazon and you do just need a secondhand copy and you really don't need it. You need to read the whole play so that you understand the storyline, because for Unit 3, you will be given a scene by the exam board about 6 weeks before your exam from Curious Incident, and you will know that you'll be writing about that in your play, but you don't know whether you'll be given a directing question or an acting one. So you will read the whole play so that no matter which section of the play they give you, you understand where it comes in the storyline. Mrs. Rashley would like you to produce a document to explain to her which of the scenes would you be most excited to bring to life on stage? What staging form would you use? Why? It was originally done in thrust. Would you stay with this? Would you change it up? Do you have a better idea? What would you want the audience to have understood or be feeling by the time they'd watched your scene? And an extension task, if you really want to push yourself and kind of get ahead for September, is to create a mood board of costume, set, lighting ideas for your chosen scene. And you can do that on paper, or you could use one of the free mood board softwares like Canva, where you can put all those in and print it off. We're really looking forward to teaching you in September, and we hope that this makes sense for you today and that you're feeling a little bit more confident about this opening of the play, this weird scene. If you have any questions about the homework or anything we've discussed in the lesson today, put a note in the box for me now. Keep your notes from the videos. I would recommend that you go back, maybe watch those again in your own time and add to your notes, maybe print off those photos of examples and put them in your notes as well, because they will be useful later on. So if you've got any comments, please let me have them. Or if you've got no questions at all and you enjoyed today's lesson, or I bored your socks off, let me know. Just put a little comment in that box that I know how we're all doing. Oh, I've just got your message there. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to take it that that means you don't have any questions. Do you just want to let me know if you feel like you understand both the homework tasks? I know there's 3 people in attendance, so I've got one person telling me that they understand everything. Is there somebody else feeling brave enough? You need the Q&A section, which is at the top. 2 like speech bubbles, one's got a question mark in. If you click on there, if you haven't got it open already, you should be able to type in that box. Let me know if you've got questions about the homework or anything else. Come on, I've been talking to myself for an hour. The least you can do is reply now. Right, great, thank you. So homework task should be fine. So Mrs. Challoner is sending out a booklet for stage 3 in the next few weeks, and that'll have those tasks in it. I'll do you a little brief, a bit like the one that you had last time. As always, any questions, please contact me, let me know. Unless anybody else wants to make a comment in the live event Q&A, I'm going to leave it there for today. Just to let you know that we're very much looking forward to teaching you in September. Thank you for joining us today. Send me an email if you have any questions. Don't suffer in silence. Don't panic that you can't get it all done. Things are difficult right now at home and schoolwork's not the priority for you. Let me know. Drop me an email. I might not be able to help you do the work, but I can certainly make sure that in September I can have things in place that will help you catch up what you need. So yes, thank you for joining me today, and I will see you all, hopefully, probably at a 2 meter distance, very soon. Thank you, see you later.